Well, thank you very much indeed, Sian, and hi everybody. I hope you're doing okay today. So I'm Anna Russell, and I am a wellbeing coach with the Bupa Foundation. So I'm going to take you through this session today with my colleagues Claire, who you'll hear from in a minute, and also Carla as well. So really pleased to be with you today. So what we're going to cover is a really simple system and get you thinking actually about your energy levels and how they're doing. And we're going to share a really simple system about some kind of tips and tricks you can use to keep your body and mind in a good place. And also if you feel like you're maybe slipping out of a good place, and things that you can do to help yourself. So I hope you've all got the action plan in front of you. You can make notes on that as we go through. And if you haven't, just please make notes where you can. So first of all, let's stand back for a second and think about our energy. Now, you might not think about this very much, so you might think about managing your time and getting the most out of the day, the weekend, holidays coming up as well. But actually, in order to get the most out of your time, you need to have enough energy to enjoy life, to tackle any work, schoolwork, homework, exams, whatever it is that you've got going on. So, you know, we all face lots of pressures in life, lots of big external pressures, whether we like it or not. Life is coming at us, and we have certainly seen that over the past year or so. And, you know, huge respect to you as well, because I think it's obviously been a tough time for everybody. But I think if you're kind of living through the times we have been and juggling schoolwork, exams, maybe thinking about internships as well, that's a lot of stuff to be handling. So well done to you for doing that. So all these big external pressures that we have, another pressure that we face is one of kind of using technology as well. So maybe just stop for a minute and have a think about, what is your relationship with technology like? So are you always glued to your device or your laptop? Are you responding to every single notification straight away? Or maybe have you put some good boundaries around it? Because technology is fantastic, but actually who's in charge? And you're the one that needs to be in charge. So all these pressures, and there's another set of pressure that we all face as well. And these are internal pressures. So, you know, the voice in the head that we all have. And this voice in the head, it will change depending on what's going on, but it can either be a friend to you, encouraging you, supporting you, saying, you know, I've done well today, I've studied hard, I've made an effort, I could do with a break. Or the voice in the head might be more of a critical voice, or a doubting voice saying, I should have done that, haven't done that, need to do better. Worth tuning into, what is your voice in the head doing? And we'll share some tips in the session on how you can help yourself deal with that. But there are some people in life who, no matter what they have going on, they seem to be able to cope with those pressures, external and internal, and actually more than cope. They're able to thrive and to keep themselves in a good place, or get themselves back into a good place. It's not accidental that people are doing this. It is because they will be doing some things to take care of themselves, to protect their energy, or to build their energy. So we're going to take you through this really simple system that you can use to help yourself. So first of all, we are going to have a think about, actually, where are you on the energy curve right now, and what does that look like for you? So Claire's just going to talk us through this, so kind of get your thinking caps on about what that looks like for you at the moment.
Exactly. So with all of those things going on, it affects our energy levels. And we would like to introduce you to what you can see here, the energy curve, sometimes also called a stress curve. And along the bottom, you can see pressure. Low pressure at the left, high pressure at the right. And up the side is our energy. Low energy at the bottom, high energy at the top. When we've got actually quite a high amount of pressure, you can see the top of the curve there peaks and our energy is really high. We've marked out there the feeling good zone. This is where most people are most of the time, and it's a really nice place to be. We feel like we've got obviously energy, but we feel motivated, we feel inspired, sometimes feel quite creative when we're at the top of the energy curve as well. And importantly, we feel like we've got a little bit of capacity for more. When new things come on, you feel like you've got a bit of energy to put towards those. But we're all human and we do drift on this curve all the time. So, you know, when it's peak exam times, you know what your energy levels have been like. And equally, when there's not quite enough going on in the holidays, in the long summer holidays, sometimes your energy might really dip with not enough pressure going on. That's where you would find yourself going to the left-hand side of the curve. You can see at the bottom left there the word bored. But more and more what we hear from people that Career Ready work with and young people that we do sessions for in schools is that they feel like they're drifting towards the right-hand side of the curve. And this is when it feels like there's just a bit too much pressure, too many plates to keep spinning. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. When you feel your energy levels start to dip to the right, what are the things that you can do to get yourself back to the feeling good zone? So 2 things to ask you to do. Where are you on the curve today? Just reflect for yourself. You might want to draw a little cross on your worksheet. And second thing, please could I ask you to type in the chat bar 1 word to describe how you feel when you're in the feeling good zone. How do you feel when you're at the top of the curve? And I'm going to ask my wonderful colleague Carla, how do you feel when you're at the top of the curve?
I feel like I'm buzzing, like nothing can touch me. I can do whatever I want. I could jump off a building and fly for all I care. And also the not caring in the world, which is quite rare because I usually worry and care about everything. But when I'm at the peak of the curve, nothing matters. It doesn't matter. I've got this. So
nice. Yeah, buzzing when you're at the top of the curve. And some really nice words coming. You feel free. What a great way to describe it.
That's a good word.
Feel good, amazing, blessed, lovely. I feel really confident when I'm at the top of the curve. So keep this in your mind as we go through today's session. This is where we want to be. But when we do start to drift, there are ways that our bodies and our minds tell us that we're starting to drift. And Carla's going to talk to us about those. When we start to drift, things called red flags come up, little warning signs that you're starting to drift down the curve. So Carla, tell us a bit more.
Okay, so red flags. Okay, so red flags is your body reaction and your mind reaction to not feeling your best, not feeling your optimum. And it can affect you physically, mentally, it can affect people around you, it can affect your whole day, your whole school day or your social day, and it can affect you by, for example, you can see some things on the screen there, all types of things. There's probably some that we haven't even got on there as well, how your body reacts. But for me, what happens to me is if I get stressed or I start, working really late, I get really anxious. So then I'm sort of can't sleep, so I can't switch off. So I can't turn off the off button. So I can't sleep. And then what I'll do is I'll order takeaways. That's the key thing. I'm always on something called Uber Eats. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but it's literally part of my daily diary when I'm stressed. So whether it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I'll order McDonald's or something, okay? I'll order that, then I'll feel bad, beat myself up about it, probably for an extra hour, 3, 4 in the morning. So the time's going on, then I worry that I can't get to sleep and I've eaten bad food and often, I just don't react well to. So then the next day I'm stuck in a vicious circle. I'm tired, I feel negative, I feel less focused, I forget loads of things and become even more anxious the next day. So then it sets me in that circle for that following night as well, because, I'm still not feeling my optimum. So I'm reacting by doing things that I wouldn't usually do. I don't know if any of you have got anything that you do, no matter how strange or wonderful it may be, but if you'd like to share it in the chat, how you might react. I know that Anna, for example, who's leading this session, she gets really anxious, grits her teeth and her shoulders go up, because you can notice other people's red flags, which is also really important. Your friends, your family, and sometimes it's quite useful to tell them as well what yours may be. They probably know anyway, but so that they can notice them and sort of react to it and put some action in place to support you. Okay. Anyone want to come off mute as well to share a red flag or anything?
Feel free to pop them in the chat. I can share some of mine, Carla. So certainly my skin will change when I'm stressed. I get a bit of redness and certainly a bit more spotty when I'm stressed. And if I've been stressed for quite a few weeks, another one of my red flags is that my eye starts to twitch. Oh yeah, fidgeting, yeah, really common. Yeah, not feeling like you can relax. So really worth tuning into, what are your red flags, the things that come up for you. And that's our second tip for today's session. Know what your red flags are and share them with each other, because these are your warning signs that you need to do something to help yourself get back to the top of the curve. It's your opportunity to do something. And thank you, keep them coming. You're never alone in your red flags. So yeah, fidgeting and feeling a bit shaky, a bit trembly. Yeah, really common one. Great self-awareness to have. I hope you have identified that in yourself. So what's behind all these red flags? Anna's going to talk to us about the physiology behind what makes these things come up, and then we'll start to think about what we can do to make ourselves feel better.
Oh, thank you, Carla and Claire. So in a moment, we're going to have a look at the questionnaire together. And a lot of these things like exercising, eating well, getting enough sleep, it's all common sense, isn't it, to look after ourselves. However, the other reason why we look at these things is that the reason they make a difference both to our physical and mental well-being is because they will affect what is known as the adrenal cortisol system. And the adrenal cortisol system actually regulates stress in our body. So adrenaline, you know, we all have it, we all need it. And a short, sharp burst of adrenaline is actually not necessarily a bad thing. It can help you cope with difficult situations. It can actually give you like an extra burst of energy. So if you need to do an exam, run a race, actually can be a really positive thing if channeled well. But if your adrenaline levels start to creep up over a long period of time, it can really lead to feeling stressed. And it's the same with cortisol. So cortisol is another adrenal hormone. And like adrenaline, we all have it, we all need it. If it's working well, as it should do, you're going to have higher cortisol levels in the morning, helps you get out of bed, and it also helps you focus during the day. And then what will happen is, or should happen, is your cortisol levels will start to drop as the day goes on, so that you can sleep at night, and then they build back up again as you sleep, ready to get out of bed again the next day. However, if you are under sustained threat and challenge, your cortisol levels, your adrenaline levels are going to creep up. And what this means is that you will start to feel it physically. So you may end up with headaches, not able to sleep as well. You also might get a bit of a dodgy stomach. It can affect just how well your immune system is functioning. So you might get sore throats, maybe that kind of thing. But it's also going to affect how you feel mentally, because it will affect what's going on with the chemicals in your brain, and particularly the neurotransmitter system. So you might have heard of the chemicals in your brain like serotonin, dopamine. These are the things that can make us feel good. But if adrenaline levels, cortisol levels are too high, they're not going to be as released as much. So you start to feel a bit lower, maybe less creative, just feel like everything's too much of a struggle maybe. So the good news is, though, is that we can keep this adrenal cortisol system in balance, in a good place, if we're doing a handful of things to take care of ourselves. So everything we're looking at in the questionnaire, if you score some positive points, you're going to be helping yourself to build your resilience, protect your energy, build your energy, and keep that adrenal cortisol system in balance. So I think of this as giving myself really strong foundations to stay in a good place, and it really helps me cope with whatever life is going to throw at me. So think of this as, you know, your toolkit of stuff you can do to keep yourself in a good place. And so Claire's going to take us through the questionnaire, so get ready to start noting down your scores, everyone.
Yes, so you should have this in your worksheet, but if not, pen and paper works just as well, or make a note on your device. So, of course, you would expect us to talk about exercise in a wellbeing session. I'd like you to think about, how often do you exercise and how do you feel afterwards? Ideally, we're looking for twice a week or more of 30 minutes where you get your heart rate going. It might be going for a walk, if that's what you enjoy. It might be playing a sport. It might be doing an online exercise class, or it might just be going for a run. Whatever it is that you do and enjoy to exercise. So give yourself a score. If it's twice a week, 2 points. A few times a month, 1 point. And if you used to do something but you've given up, be honest with yourself about where you are. There's no judgment here, and we're not going to ask you to share your scores. This is just for yourself to reflect. And think about the last week. You know, so it's an accurate snapshot in time, not the ideal version of yourself that you want to be, the real version of who you are now. Next up is downtime. By downtime, we mean things that genuinely help us to relax. Very often we breathe up here in the top of our chest, really shallow breathing. And when we relax, we breathe deeply again. Usually our exhale breath is longer than the inhale, and that kicks into what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. It makes our body chemically relax. That's really beneficial for us. So downtime can mean things like having a bath, reading a book. I'm sorry, it doesn't mean things like scrolling on social media for hours and hours, or watching Netflix where one episode rolls into the other. It can be watching TV, but where you've really intentionally watched an episode of something, not with your phone in front of you at the same time, where you're not really concentrating on either. So think about, are you genuinely relaxing? That's what we mean by downtime. If you do that twice a week, give yourself 2 points. Less than that, score yourselves as what you can see on the screen. Sleep often comes up as a hot topic and is often a red flag for people actually if their sleep is interrupted. So we're ideally looking for 7 hours or more every night of quality sleep. And you know how you feel after a good night's sleep. This is what we want. It's the body's way of reflecting on what's happened the day before and preparing for the day ahead. And those cortisol levels build up that Anna was talking about. So if you get that, if you get 7 hours or more, give yourself 2 points. And important to think about your bedtime routine. We might talk about that a little bit later on, but thinking about, how do you get ready for bed? Ideally not looking at your phone up until the moment that you go to sleep, because your brain has not had time to relax, to get ready for bed. Now, the next couple are all about what we eat. So if you have breakfast every day, give yourself a point. You're setting your blood sugar up to help you throughout the day. And diet in general, how are you doing? Is there a few too many takeaways like what Carla was talking about? Are there lots of snacks, unhealthy snacks during the day that make your blood sugar peak and then drop? Or are you getting lots of fruit and veggies and a mix of kind of proteins and fibres? If you're doing great, then give yourself 2 points. If you're more like me at the moment and just doing okay, I'm going to stay neutral on no points at the moment. And if it's poor or bad, you can see the scores there. And finally, social time. Really, really important that we spend time with people whose company that we enjoy. That could be online, or it could be face-to-face now that restrictions are lifting. But you know how you feel when you've had a good belly laugh with your friends. It's really good for us to help de-stress from whatever's happening. So I'd like you to add up your score up until that point, and then I'm going to come back to the questionnaire in a moment to do the final column that you'll be able to see on your worksheet. Now then, for the columns where you've scored a bit more highly, it's probably because you're making some positive choices about those sections of the questionnaire. You're choosing to spend time on those things. So those areas of the questionnaire where you've scored most highly, perhaps those things are your non-negotiables. A non-negotiable is usually a small practical action that we do because we know it gives us energy. We know it makes us feel good. We enjoy doing it and we feel good after we've done it. And importantly, we prioritise time for it. We call it a non-negotiable because no matter what else is going on, no matter how busy things are with exams or balancing a part-time job, you make time to do your non-negotiable because you know it'll make you feel better. So Anna, can I ask you to give some examples of what your non-negotiables are?
Oh, I'll give you a few. I have quite a lot, but these are things that are really important to me to keep me in a good place, especially if I've got a lot going on. So there are some daily ones that I have, and they are really simple things like making sure I get a good night's sleep, and that means getting to bed for me by ideally 10:30, 11 o'clock, making sure I eat 3 meals a day, and ideally they're healthy meals. And also getting outside is a really big one for me. So, you know, my job is quite indoors, it's desk based, but I have to get out. And sometimes if I've got a really busy day, that means a bit of planning and discipline to make sure that I can either get out in the morning or at some point during the day or in the evening. So those are some of my ones. And also I've got some ones about exercise as well. So I'm not a big gym bunny, to be honest, but I do like to do yoga, swimming and just walking as well. And so making sure that I make the time several times a week to do all of that. Well, the walking is daily, but everything else couple of times a week. Thanks, Claire.
No, thank you. And just goes to show a non-negotiable can be really simple things, but the point is that we make them a priority. And thank you, Carla, for sharing yours. Calling your family and doing Zumba, fabulous. If anybody else would like to share, feel free to pop in the chat box. What are the things that you do that give you energy? It's really important that we know what they are so that we can prioritize them. Going to work, lovely. Yeah, it gives you a sense of purpose, doesn't it? When you go to work and do something productive, it can be quite a nice feeling. It doesn't always have to be a pressure. Thank you for sharing that. So whatever your non-negotiables are, the things that give you energy, I would like you to think about where during the week do you do them? The evidence shows that people who do their non-negotiables throughout their week have more resilience. They're more resilient people in general, and they have more energy. So come the holiday time and the weekends, it's not necessarily about recovery. Their energy is already in a good place and it means they can really enjoy their free time. So the last column that's in your questionnaire is about choices. And I'd like to think about your midweek choices, the places in the week where you do something that makes you feel good, something that puts your energy back in a good place. Maybe it's thinking about what you're going to have for lunch and making your lunch in the morning so you know you've got something good to eat at lunchtime. Maybe it's knowing when you're going to talk with your friends online. You've got a slot in the day where you know that's going to happen. Maybe it's a time to listen to some of your favourite music. Whatever it is for you, where in the week do you do it? And if you've got 4 or 5 of these slots, could just be 10 minutes, could be half an hour, then give yourself 2 points. If you've got less slots, or maybe you've just not thought about having an energy slot before, just score yourselves as to what you can see on the screen there. And add that to your final score. That is your score for today. Anything around a +5 or a +6 means you're doing some fantastic things to keep your physiology in a good place. Those adrenaline and cortisol levels are staying in balance as they should be. If you find yourself drifting, maybe you've got a lower score, around a 0 or a minus number, don't beat yourself up. Just look across the questionnaire and think, which one column am I going to prioritise for the next week? And hopefully you can nudge yourself up by a point or 2. It's our third tip for the day. Keep doing what gives you energy, especially when things get tough. Very often, those non-negotiables are the first thing to go when we feel stressed, but they're actually the thing that we should hold on to and make time to do, because it'll keep us in a balanced place and have more energy to be able to put into all the things that we're balancing. We're going to come on straight away to our 4th tip because it really relates to this. I wrote a couple of really helpful questions that you can ask yourself around your choice of how you spend your time. Is just to say, what's the best use of my time right now? Is it to carry on studying and do, another hour of revision, even though my eyes are falling asleep and I'm really distracted and fidgeting? Probably not the best use of your time because you can't concentrate. The best use of your time might be to put the books away for that night and do something to help you relax and come back to them fresh in the morning. And importantly, what can you let go of? Is there anything on your list that only you know about and only you have put there that you might actually be able to let go of and release some pressure? So 2 really helpful questions to keep in mind. Now, all of the stuff that we've spoken about so far, the physiology, the science going on in our bodies, the choices that we make, those non-negotiables, they can't happen without a good attitude and a good mindset. So our final section to work through today is all about that.
Oh, thank you, Claire. And just stop and have a think for a second about how you think about things, because you know what, you can choose whether you exercise or not, you can choose whether you eat something good for you, you can choose to get enough, well, mostly we can choose to try and get ourselves a good night's sleep, but we can also choose the way we think. But sometimes we forget that we have this power to choose the way we think. And it takes practice, and it's like anything else, it's a muscle, so we need to be using it a lot. So I'm just going to share some hints and tips about what we can all do to keep ourselves or get ourselves back into a good place. So, you know, when we were looking at that curve and thinking about how we feel at the top of the curve, you know, it's not possible necessarily for us to feel in the best place all the time, because we're all human beings. But it is possible just to have a few things in our kind of toolkit that we can rely on to get us back into a better place mentally. So I'd like everyone to start thinking about, actually, what do you do, or what could you do to keep yourself or get yourself back into a better frame of mind? I'll share a couple of things, and then, you know, if something really resonates with you or you do this, please put it in the chat. So the first thing you can think about is reframing. So in a difficult situation, quite often what will happen is that our head will go straight into negative thoughts. So Claire calls it the vortex of doom that she can go into, or that we can all go into. And rather than just disappearing into those negative thoughts, thinking everything's too hard, actually what it can be helpful to do is to take a step back, just take a moment to try and reframe it. Now, there are different ways you can reframe things. Sometimes it's helpful to actually have a chat with someone. So even just a few minutes of a helpful conversation can give us a different perspective. Sometimes people might offer to help as well. So, you know, something practical can come from it. You can also have a conversation with yourself. So that might sound a bit strange, but it's certainly something that I do a lot. Talk myself back into a better place, and I do very, very practical things. So particularly with kind of challenges that are at work, I'll think about, well, when have I been in a similar situation, and what did I do in that situation to get help or help myself? And that can give me a bit more confidence to move forward and to reframe it as a positive thing. The other thing that we can do is get some perspective on it as well. And perspective can come in many forms. So there's the perspective of talking to a good friend or family member. They can give you that. Sometimes perspective comes by going and doing something else. So if you're really worrying about something, or if you are struggling with a piece of work, if time allows, actually it can be a really helpful thing to say, you know what, I'm going to go and do something completely different for a short while. I might listen to some music, I might read something, I might go for a walk, but just something to take my mind off the situation and then come back to it fresh, and that will really help. There's also the perspective of time. So you can think about, you know, if something's stressing you, will I even care about that in 4 weeks' time? Will I even remember it in 4 months' time? You can maybe cast your mind back and think about, you know, a few weeks ago, was there something that was really stressing you that actually you've largely forgotten about now? Have a think about it. The other thing that we can do to kind of help hit the mental reset button is have some little things in our toolkit that we know that can help us in the moment as well. So a really good one, if you like music and if you can, is just spend a couple of minutes listening to a piece of music that either gives you more energy, makes you feel more positive, or that relaxes you if you're feeling a bit stressed about something. The power of music to help reset our mood can be super powerful. So definitely one to think about. And some of you may use that. Please put it in the chat if you use music to do that. The other kind of reset thing that we can do in the moment, and you can do this anywhere, anytime, without anybody knowing, is actually thinking about your breathing. And it can be super helpful just to take a few deep breaths, slow down your breathing, exactly what Claire said. You know, we can often breathe in a very shallow way at the top of our chest. If you can just take a few deep breaths and just take a longer exhale, it can really signal to your body and mind that everything is okay and help you get back into a better place. Oh, Carla, you put in the chat that you listened to Beyonce Run the World.
Yeah, if I'm feeling a bit, you know, a little bit sluggish, a little bit same old, then I'll put a song on that I really like, generally by Beyonce, and that one makes me feel like, yeah, I can get up, I can do this, I can run it, I can do it. So it just gives you the burst of energy.
Oh, and Misbah, I'm really sorry if I've said your name wrong, Misbah, that Frank Sinatra's New York, New York really helps and puts you in a good mood. Isn't that fantastic? Do you know what? When I was at university, which was a long while ago now, we used to have the parties, and at the end of every party, to close the evening on a high, we would play that tune. So thank you for sharing that. That's definitely taken me back. Please feel free to put in the chat if there is anything you do that you know helps you get back into or stay in a good place. You know, I think the other thing you can do is think about, what is your resilient superpower? So we all have a lot more resilience than necessarily we think we do. And we're all really good at something. And if you think back over the past year or so and living through these COVID times, you know, you have all done brilliantly getting through this. And the things that you have learned getting through this, hold on to those, because those will definitely help you get through more difficult times in the future. Oh, Rochelle, any Bob Marley song or George Michael song makes you happy? I'm with you on both of those. Fantastic. I like that you're liking some of the older music as well. That's really good to hear. What about some of the latest tunes as well? I need some recommendations if you can share those. The last thing we always recommend to everybody, no matter what your age, to help keep a positive mindset, is the daily practice of gratitude. And it is so important for us to, either at the start, middle, end of the day, just to stand back and think about, you know, what are you grateful for? So it could be just that you've helped somebody today and you feel good about that. It could be that you've achieved something. So you might have finished an assignment or finished reading something or tackled something that you were putting off. That could be something that you're grateful for. It could simply be that you are just grateful for the day. I was reading this thing that Raheem Sterling, the footballer, put out last week, I think it was, and his mum would always ring him when he was when he'd moved up to Manchester, I think, when he first started out at the club, and his mum used to say, you know, have you given thanks, Raheem, this morning, just for the day, for being here? And I thought, what a lovely thing to say. So, you know, some days the thing that I'm just grateful for is a sunny day, the day in front of me, and just being here. So really maybe put in the chat what you're grateful for today. Just one thing that you're grateful for. So I'll tell you one thing I'm grateful for today. So I've just had a really nice lunch. I don't normally take much of a break for lunch, but I had a really nice lunch with some colleagues who I've not seen for a while, face to face. Oh, and great, that was with Claire, so she's grateful for that as well. So just feel free to put in the chat just one thing that you're grateful for today. It'd be lovely to hear from you. Oh, Carly, yeah, the app, there's lots of free apps out there. There's one called 3 Good Things you can download, but also there's a few others you can use, or you can just write it down. A lot of people do journaling. Some people, you know, they talk to their family as well. It's quite a nice thing to do if you're having dinner with your family. You can kind of talk through what you're grateful for that day. So we've covered a lot of things. I hope you've made some notes in your workbook. And our last tip for today is making sure that, you know, you do get into that habit of choosing your mindset. It can be such a powerful thing to do. The trick is to remember to do it. You might want to kind of put reminders. You can set reminders on your phone, you know, maybe have an object that reminds you to do that. Jack, you're grateful for Christ's sacrifice on the cross every day. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's really lovely. Oh, Ms. Bai, you're grateful for having a good career life. Absolutely. I'm grateful for my job as well. And I'm really grateful for, you know, not just the job itself, but, you know, that means that, you know, I can have a roof over my head, feed my family, all of that. So that's really important to me. But also colleagues as well who are also great friends. I'm grateful for that too. So thank you for sharing that. So we have gone through a lot today. It's been a jam-packed 45 minutes, so I hope you've taken a few things from it that you can take and use and have a go, because all of this, you know, it really is, it's like a muscle and you have to keep on using it. So you don't say, oh, I want to get fit, I'll go for one run and job done. You keep on running, and it's the same with this. So really think about, you know, that energy curve we looked at. Think about, where are you on the curve? If you feel like you're slipping down either side, either to being bored or to feeling overwhelmed, then that's might be not be a great place to be, but actually you can do something about it. You can ask people for help, and also notice what your red flags are, tune into those. You can use the questionnaire to help you. So, you know, if you have got some of your red flags showing up, so maybe, you know, your dodgy stomach or just feeling overwhelmed or anxious, maybe think about, you know, could you add in some more exercise? Could you look at kind of eating more healthily, making sure that you're taking time to relax and holding on to those non-negotiables. So the things in life that really matter to you because they make you feel good, they give you energy. And for a lot of people, that's about exercise, spending time with friends and family, the things that give us joy. Hold on to those, they really do matter. And then think about the choices you're making as well, how you're spending your time, and shake up any bad habits like too much scrolling on social media or eating the wrong things or just wasting time when you have nothing to show for it. So think about the choices, but also think about the good choices that you're making and give yourself a pat on the back for it, and make sure you hold on to them because they really matter. Even if they're little things, they matter and they will keep you in a good place. And then lastly, thinking about your mindset, choosing the way you think and having a few things in your toolkit you know you can rely on to kind of keep you in that good place. And all of this will really help build your resilience and also your energy, but most of all, help you get the most out of life and enjoy life, because that's what we're here for. Oh, thank you so much. Yaya, I'm sorry again, I'm sorry if I've said your name wrong. What a lovely thing to say, that you are grateful for your parents that have always supported you. That is so lovely. What a lovely thing to say. And make sure you tell your mum and dad that you're grateful to them. I'm sure they've heard that from you, but as a parent, that's all you can hope for, is that you're doing your best for your children. Oh, that's a lovely thing to say. So take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. I hope you have a bit of a break over the summer, and I hope you can do some good stuff to look after yourselves so that you're in a really good place in September. Take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Just wanted to say thank you from Career Ready to everybody that supported. So thank you to Anna, Claire, Carla, and thanks to all of you guys, you students as well, for participating. It's great to see the chat on fire and to see that you're all actively involved in the session. So really well done. Thank you for that. Just wanted to give you all a quick reminder as well that we're running our insight sessions for the next 2 Thursdays. So if you haven't signed up for future sessions, then please do. The team at Bupa are actually going to be running another one, which is going to be a bit different. It's going to be an insight to working at Bupa and the jobs available, and what it's like to be within that sector. So if you're interested in finding out a bit more about what they do day to day, then have a look on the timetable and sign up to that session too. But thank you, everyone, and I hope your internships, if you are on one, are going well. Take care.